So, welcome to the Solidus demo. It is currently live at demo.solidus.io. We haven't really advertised it too much, so some of you guys may not actually even know that it's here, but it is here. I, along with a few other people at Nebulab, have been working on this for a little while. All right, yeah. So there's three things that I want to point out about the Solidus demo that I'm very proud of. The first thing is the guided tour at the top here. So we wanted a way to show off some of the cooler features of Solidus to prospective decision makers who would make their decisions based off of what they saw here rather than going into the code and making decisions there, because only CTOs would be able to actually do that. Like, we wanted something for some of the other decision makers to take a look at. So we created this guided tour. There are some controls here. You can also use your arrow keys to go through, but it goes through and highlights some of the features that we think make Solidus pretty cool. So I'll just quickly go through. It also goes to the admin. So initially I put this together, but Michaela from Nebulab came in after me and cleaned it up a lot. So big thanks to her, because this looks a lot cleaner than what I had initially. But yeah, that's thing number one. So now we have a working demo where decision makers can come and sort of get an idea of how Solidus works on the front end and back end. Thing number two, I have installed this user guide, which is a separate extension. I think, I'm not actually sure what the extension repository is, but it is available as a Solidus_user_guides. The idea of this extension was that we wanted a way to onboard new people easier. So if you're very new and you're somebody who ships things, then you'd go into orders and the order number, and maybe you forgot how to do something or what something means on this page. Well, there's this handy user guide button that you click. This goes through what page you're on, what different things do. If anything's confusing, it explains it. And of course, the extension is extendable. So if you have custom things on your website, then you can easily add or edit existing definitions for the page that you're on. It's entirely based off of the namespace that you're on. So front end and admin are separate, and then you've got the controller name, which is orders in this case, and then the controller action, which is edit. And so that's how it knows where to pull what description from. But yeah, like if you're on RMA, which is a notoriously confusing part of Solidus. I don't actually think we've updated the extension on this yet, but normally this would say something about, what RMAs are and how do they work and what you need to do. So yeah, I think that this sort of eases onboarding. I think that Solidus does have a little bit of work to do in making the admin section a little bit easier to use, but hopefully this helps out a little bit. I know it's something that I could have used at Tube Depot back when I worked there. And then the last thing is, you'll notice that I'm on the admin side, and it looks like I'm logged in as test@solidus.io, but if you go to users, that user doesn't actually exist. And the reason for that is we have opened up the admin. You can actually go right now to demo.solidus.io/admin, and you'll be let immediately in. So there's no logging in that you have to do. There's no, creating an account. If you want to get a sense of how the Solidus admin works, all you have to do is enter in that the admin URL, and there you are. You're already an admin. Everybody can go to this URL and do whatever they want. They're an admin. And this does include things like editing products. So if I go and change this name to Ruby thing, and then let me do it this way. Oops, got a bit of lag there. Yeah, so it changes on the front end as well. Now, the interesting thing about this is if I open up an incognito window and go to this product page, you'll see that the name is not changed. Sorry. And The reason for that is any change that you make or any new item that you create on this site is scoped entirely to your session. And the obvious reason for that is we don't want people to like inject JavaScript in their product descriptions or like rude images for the product image or anything like that. And we just want to keep it clean for the people that are coming in just to take a look. So, but we also didn't want to like sacrifice people not being able to get a sense of how easy it is to like change an image or a description or whatever. So this was sort of a best of both worlds approach where people are able to come here, make changes, and only they can see the changes. Now the way that that works is, so there's two different things at play here. If you edit, like we just did, if you edit a product that already exists, then those changes don't get stored under the product. They get stored rather under a separate column. I think it's called sample changes. And the changes that you make are, the sample changes column has a polymorphic association so that it can be associated to anything. And then it just has a changes field, which is just like a JSON storage system where you can take the changes and store it there. And then the next time you go and get the product, if the person has the same session ID, then it will use the changes that's stored in that change column. So that's how that works. And then of course we've got new product creation, which also works, but this works in a slightly different way. I've added a sample, I don't know, a session ID. I forget the name of the field, but I've added a session ID to each and every object on Solidus so that anytime you create an object, it's automatically associated with your session ID. And then every fetch from the database also is scoped to your session ID. So if it has a session ID and it's the same as yours, it'll be loaded in. If it's not the same as yours, it won't be loaded in. And if it doesn't have a session ID, then that means that it's one of the sample products. And so that's how these default products are able to also be loaded in. Yeah, so that's really all I had. I just wanted to sort of show off the demo a little bit. I don't think that a lot of people know that it's there just yet. So if you guys want to take a look, and maybe you can send it off to some people who are decision makers to give them a sense of how Solidus works.
So I'd like to present 2 or 3 extensions we developed during the last month. Yeah, just to like turn up your attention on those, and hopefully you'll need some of them in the future, or you developed a similar solution. I've seen some stuff that's very similar in the presentation that Edwin gave yesterday. And so let's start with the first. It's Solidus content, and basically it's an extension designed to integrate with external content systems like Prismic, Contentful, but it's very extensible. Like you can connect with any provider. It's super easy to write a new adapter for a provider, and you can automate updates via webhooks or by other means really easily. And as I said, it's extremely flexible and supports the whole range from local JSON or YAML files, which I used a number of times in the past as the content database, up to, as I said, Prismic or even Solidus static pages that can be a source of content with this extension. It's really easy to integrate some content within a page. You basically get an hash with some key values for the different parts of the content, like, for example, the title, the body, that kind of stuff. And there's also a default route that you can enable with custom. You can customize basically the layout and by adding a view with the same name of the content type you're serving, you can easily create static pages of different flavors. And this is Solidus.io, Solidus content, and it's the Solidus.io contrib. I encourage you to check it out, not just because it might be useful, and but as I'll remark later, it's good to have those extensions meet with real-world applications. They can learn a bunch from them, and then improvement coming from a real application is usually helpful for any other application. So I mean, that fixes that kind of stuff. The second one is SolidusLmporter, and as the name says, it's designed to import stuff from other commerce platforms. We wanted to allow importing from every kind of platform. And after briefly calculating the amount of work required to write importers for, I don't know, Magento, what's the other one? PrestaShop, for example, or WooCommerce, wherever. We ended up using the Shopify CSV as an interchange format. Most of those platforms have like exporters toward the Shopify. So why not using that format as a common language to import to Solidus? The importing process is split in steps that gradually refine the imported data, and it's based on the rack middleware. It's loosely based on rack middleware as an architecture. That's the context that moves through steps, basically. And the idea is that you can easily rearrange any step, replace them, remove them. If you don't like how the customer address is imported, you have maybe some custom fields. It's easy to replace just that processor and with an importer for the address that supports your fields. So again, this is there's a little caveat on this. I would say it's beta, just because we still have to complete the order importing. We already are able. The project is already able to import products and customers, but for the orders is still work in progress. Again, it would be wonderful to have these tested out on real stores, and the more the better. The more we refine this kind of stuff, the more will be easy to migrate off of Shopify toward Solidus, and that's a big selling point, and it's I guess it's a good feature to advertise to potential clients. And yeah, the third one is used by it's a really simple extension, very tiny, and it's also my favorite one. It came out as a quick like development cycle, and it's used by Solidus content, or rather it's advertised in the README, just that. And I guess it's needed by most applications nowadays. We all have integrations that require some webhook support. The the authentication authorization is managed through the permission sets we all know and love. You have to create a user and give it the right permission to receive webhooks. And with that, you can further customize the authorization granularity and like allow one user to receive webhooks from one integration and another one for other ones, wherever. Maybe you have some kind of inventory system or 3PL integration that needs to be a quasi-admin of the platform, and another that's just for content, and you want to keep separate permissions for those. It works with callables, so it's super easy to implement the actual body of the webhook. And it's designed to be to support being asynchronous with the usual active job thing where you can, or whatever. If you want to use Sidekick or any other background worker, that's the way we thought it was good to add support for asynchronous work. And that's, it's also, as you can see, a minimalistic choice. So let's use existing tools as much as possible and be flexible to meet the needs of every application. I can guess already that some applications may need some more let's say exotic features. Maybe you need to authenticate the webhook through some header or stuff like that. That's not supported, but I'd be very happy to receive requests for that kind of stuff, as long as they're coming from real needs. It's good to make it cover every needed feature and not one like theoric feature that we don't have and we don't want to support in the future because it's a cost, and keep it as little as possible. So all of this is 100% open source, and as I said, it's all on Solidus.io contrib. I hope it will get some traction and be more and more the official extensions. And I think we should think about all those extensions, at least the ones we use the most, as something that is part of the platform. Basically, they are more or less officially supported, but some of them are de facto part of the core. I'm thinking about Solidus Device and stuff like that. So the more we refine them and improve them and evolve them, the better for everyone. So as I said, please try them out. If you need to build a new feature, or if you already have built some of those features, I mean content, you probably have done it. We saw the page builder, I think it was called, from the marketplace yesterday. Please try to integrate the existing these three extensions into your applications and make it work, or maybe improve them, and yeah, contribute back. That goes from bug fixes, feature requests, comments, experiences, whatever. Think of them as your own and as part of the platform. And finally, reap the benefits. The more we improve everything Solidus, the better the platform is for everyone, and the more people we have on the platform, the more we can get out of it. So it's a win-win situation, as they say. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I want to talk to you about, well, let me start saying that this is not prepared. I'm just talking here. So let's get ready to have some fun. So I want to talk to you about this, let's call it extension, which is what we think could be the new way to handle front ends and storefronts in Solidus. We started this project working on it during our Fridays, which we dedicate to open source and on Solidus specifically. So we started thinking, and what are the worst thing about the front end that we actually have, that we currently have, and we're trying to fix them into this extension. And we are surprised that probably since the first week that we released this extension, we already had some issues or pull requests open, which is very satisfying, and it means that we are probably going the right direction. But let's see together how it works. It started by copy pasting the current front end, because starting a new one from scratch would be very probably faster, but we would lose all the heritage that we have from the current front end, which is very important. For example, this new extension is changed a lot, but it still keep running the same identical specs that the front end is running. And this means that all the integration specs are saying us that we are not breaking existing feature and probably breaking integrations with other things that use the current front end. And this is very, very important for us. Here you can see basically the same specs. We just converted the feature spec into system spec to please Rails 6, and we are in a process to convert the controller specs into request spec. So let's go to the structure of the project. The first thing that we thought about when thinking of the bad things that we have into the front end is, of course, the HTML, and we decided to change it a lot. And let me, sorry, okay, this takes, sorry, 1 second. Let's take product show, for example. We removed all the unsemantic classes from the HTML. We just left the basic structure that you can probably take, no matter what your front end will look like. And we try to split all the information that we have in each view into separate partials that you can even combine in your view and use in I don't know how many ways. Anyway, we removed the alpha 6 stuff and all the unsemantic classes, making room for BEM style class names here. And we also try to split things into components, moving into a folder called components that contain all these pieces. For example, this is the product availability component. As you can see, this could seem like something very, very bad to do from the point of view of a Rails developer, but it's very similar to what you would do with React. We are trying to define all the logic of the component on top of the file and then use it into that. And we'll see later why we're taking this approach. Okay, so this is one of the things that we are done. And another cool thing that I want to say is that we used this the normal Circle CI configuration, but we added a piece that at every PR checks if something on Solidus frontend, so the original project is changed meanwhile, and make the build fail if something changed. Don't ask me how it works. Mattia from Nebula did this, and I have no idea about it, but it's very powerful. It's a script that you can find into being Solidus compare. And so this way we know if something changed into the normal front end, and we have the opportunity to backport those changes here as well, in order to have both code base very, very similar in terms of functionality. So when we're ready with this, we will be basically ready to switch. I want to also talk to you about the installation process, which is very different. This is a gem. It works like a gem, exactly like it is now, but we decided to revert the paradigm and allow also to install this through a command from the console. So you can gem install this gem and just run this command, and this will just take all the views, all the controllers, and all the other things that may be needed and copy them into your own application. This is because, as you may know, 99% of the stores will not use the Solidus frontend that we provide, or they use it and they cry. So instead of struggling, trying to be up to date with something that never changed and we don't want to maintain anymore because it's too custom for each store, we think that copying all the things into your application is the way to go. From that point, you are free to change whatever you want, and as soon as you respect the deprecation warning that we emit on public methods, everything should work fine. So yeah, that's it. And I think that's the next step that we are already working on is this one. So the Next.js frontend, which is the implementation of the same identical frontend, but they're using the Next.js, which I barely know how it works, honestly. But we have a full a team of very competent people that know what they're doing, creating this new extension. And this is using the GraphQL API that we released, and we look forward to actually use the API in a real project so we can validate what we've done. In terms of developer experience, these projects are very different each other, because to run this one, of course, you need to have Webpack installed and in your application. So the installation process could look very different between one each other, and we want to make the developer experience quite similar between the two. So we are thinking to new ways of installing these extensions, and we were thinking to using Railbytes, which is a project created from Chris Oliver, which is the Go Rails guy, that allow you to basically post on this website a script that will be run on using these Rails features that allow you to create an application and then run a script in a remote location. I mean, we don't need Railbytes because we can just host the script wherever. But the cool thing is that that this project pointed out is this feature that is not well known, and we can use this to specify the location of the front end that we want to install in our project. So when we create a new Rails application, we will specify the location of the script, no matter if it's the Rails front end of the Next.js front end. We'll have a new Rails application ready to be used with Solidus. Yeah, that's it. Maybe the only last thing that I want to mention is that even if new front ends are very appealing, I still love the Rails way of doing things, and I would love, as next thing for this project, to introduce action view components, and yeah, which is already something that we experimented with. And once we have done with that, all the logic that we have on top of the views, which look weird, will be moved into a component, a Ruby file that we can even test. And yeah, it looks like the way to go for me.